Today's a follow-on to the recent webinar we did where we looked under the covers of university advertising. We were joined by people from North and South America, Europe, the Middle East, Africa, Asia, and Australia. What we're going to do is do an overview of advertising expenditures, take a look at the key advertising platforms, deep dive into some of the measurement metrics, and then take a detailed analysis on select universities, followed by our market research capabilities here at American Caldwell. In traditional advertising, the landscape is crowded, it's expensive, you can't really control who sees your ads, and it's hard to measure their impact. Whereas with digital advertising, it's much more cost effective, there is very precise targeting, and you get lots and lots of measurable data. That's why digital continues to take a larger percentage share of overall advertising spend. A few years ago, we crossed the 50% mark. Now we're around 2/3 of all digital, of all advertising is spent on digital. If we look at the total spend, we're in the hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. It's increasing by around 21% per year. And at the last year's level, it matched the GDP of Sweden. So where is it all going? Let's take a look at some of the top social media properties. Facebook is at the very top, as you can see here. And then we have YouTube with around 2.5 billion people that have accounts. Instagram, around 2 billion. WeChat, which is the Chinese super app that has multiple capabilities rolled into one. We've all heard of TikTok. LinkedIn this year is going to approach 1 billion people. Douyin is a Chinese version of TikTok. And then we have Snapchat. Kuaishou is a competitor for TikTok, also in China. Sina Weibo, which is the Chinese version of Twitter. Then we have QQ, which is a Chinese chat and voice app. And the last place is Twitter. If we look at who are the owners of some of these properties, as you can see, Meta owns Facebook and Instagram, so they have kind of the lion's share of social media users. We have YouTube, which we're going to get into more in a minute. And then you could see that ByteDance owns TikTok and Douyin, which is the Chinese version of TikTok, and Tencent owns WeChat and Sina Weibo. But let's look at the usage among teens here in the US. YouTube is by far the most popular platform, and people don't seem to notice this very often because YouTube doesn't get classified as a social media app per se, but yet it is by far the #1 way to reach teens in the US. So if we take a look more of outside of social media in terms of advertising, we're going to enter the Googleverse, as I call it. Google's the #1 most visited website in the world with around 60 billion visits per month. #1 search engine in terms of market share. It's also the default search on iPhones and Android, which make up about 99% of the mobile search market. It's the #1 video platform, that's with YouTube, which gets around 30 billion visits per month. And it's the biggest advertising platform on the internet. 1 out of every $3 spent on digital advertising is going towards Google. Their revenue last year was $237.8 billion. So if we think about it, traditionally people think it's coming from Google search. And that is true. That is where a lot of it's coming from because it has some of the highest conversion rates in terms of doing ads. But also Google controls pretty much all of the banner ads that you see on websites on the internet. Through their display category here, they have agreements with around 3 million websites where they do revenue share for anyone that clicks on any of the banner ads. And then finally, video, which is, I shouldn't say finally, but video is huge in terms of YouTube and all the different kinds of ads that you see there with the pre-roll 5-second ads or ads inserted inside videos. So how do youth find out about a brand? This was done from a survey recently with BWI, and they found that ads on social media was one of the top ways that youth find out about a new brand. Ads on television is #2, followed by search engines, word of mouth, brand websites, TV shows and film, ads on websites, social media comments, and then ads in mobile apps. And keep in mind, another survey found out that 69% of students say institutional brand name and recognition are essential to their college search. That's something to consider when universities advertise and try to expand their visibility with the public. So we've done a deep dive on over 100 universities' advertising expenditures, and we're going to highlight 5 of them here now. It's been reported that university advertising is around $2 billion annually, and based on some of our research, the indications show that that's most likely the case. So these are the metrics we're going to cover today. The first is impressions by month, so how many times the ad was shown each month. Then we're going to look at the ad type distribution in terms of, is it banner ads, is it social media ads, is it video ads, etc., and what kind of percentage those are. Then we're going to look at the total impressions. So how many times in total over the course of 1 year was the ad shown? And then we'll look at the annual spend. I know this is the number a lot of people are very interested in. And so we'll have this in US dollar figures for a 12-month period. And then finally, we're going to look at the top properties where the ads are being shown. So where is the university focusing most of its ad dollars? So we'll start with Boston College. So as you can see here from the monthly impressions, that they started ramping up in July and August, and then really started to push more effort into it in September and October, and then have it come down a little bit towards the holidays. Now, in terms of digital advertising, most of it is set up as a auction, which is really smart by the advertising companies, because it allows the price to go up and down based on the demand of advertisers. And so around the holidays, ads are usually the most expensive. And so it's best to ramp down during that time period. And then in January, February, the ads are usually a lot more plentiful in terms of availability, and the price is a lot better. So you'll see that sometimes some companies take advantage of that. 99% of Boston College's ads are focused on social media. They received 630 million impressions at an annual spend of $3.7 million. And the number one property where 67% of their ads appeared was on Facebook, followed by Instagram, and then some on LinkedIn. And we also calculated here the CPM for each of the schools. So here for Boston College, it's $5.67. If we look at some of their top campaigns, these are the 5 biggest campaigns that we saw out in the wild. The first is the Lynch School of Education and Human Development, where $3.46 million was spent. And again, these are estimates, so keep that in mind. And it was shown around 500 or so million times. And then number 2 is a MS in cybersecurity. Number 3 is a master's in higher ed program. Number 4 is a master's in ed program. And then number 5 is a bachelor's degree advertisement. If we look at some of the ad creative, here you can see the actual ads that as they were shown on Facebook. The first one first appeared in June of last year. Looks like they spent around $77,000, and it was shown approximately 14 million times. Typically, ads that will have a higher click-through rate when you have people in them, as opposed to just buildings and signage. But the fact that they ran the ads this long means that they probably did pretty good. Click-through rates in higher ed usually, to be considered a decent ad is 2 to 3%. If it's less than 2%, then it's probably best to change out the ad. And then we've actually come across some campaigns that had 10% click-through rates, although that's very rare. And then once they click through, they come to this landing page. In general, landing pages can be designed to match the actual ads. So this does, in terms of the topic and bringing you to the School of Education and Human Development. One recommendation I would have here is there is a lot of distraction on the site in terms of places they can click and go off in other directions. So thus the conversion rate could be optimized if it was more narrowly focused. Next up, we have University of Oxford. As you can see here, the monthly spend, and not monthly spend, but the monthly number of impressions starts to ramp up in June, and then July with a peak in August, comes down a little bit in September, and then October, and then drops considerably for November and December. 99% of the distribution was on social media, with 1.7 billion impressions overall, which is quite a lot. The annual spend was $3.8 million. Again, that's an estimate. And then 74% of the ad type was focused on Twitter. Now, this was very surprising to us because even as people from Twitter will tell you, it's not known for conversions. Twitter is known more for raising awareness, breaking news, those types of things. So some of their top campaigns are centered around their business school, the Said Business School. So you can see here the breakdown in terms of the spend. So the first campaign, $1.5 million, which received most of the impressions at 1.3 billion. Then we have leadership courses, and some other types of things about research and AI, with the estimated spend according to each one. So this is a look at some of the ads as they appeared on Twitter, along with the estimated spend and the number of impressions. Again, I'm very surprised that there's this level of focus on Twitter. Perhaps they have some sort of a deal with Twitter because they're a major brand. They want them there as an advertiser or something. But in general, for conversions, Twitter is usually the last platform people go to. And we'll take a look here at the landing page. So this is a lot more of a focused landing page. As you can see, there's just one choice to get the prospectus. And they also added some, an offer on the website. So you can see there's a 20% off offer. There's also a time limit, which creates a sense of urgency. So all in all, this was a better designed landing page. Now we'll hop over to Cornell University, one of the Ivies in the U.S. And you can see here the ad spend by month, where it's peaking in May and June, and then comes down in July and August, and then has a big plummet right before the holidays. Here the ad type distribution is, again, primarily social media, 97%, 1.2 billion impressions with a $7.1 million ad spend. I forgot to mention that in the Oxford spend, that was specific to the UK. So those were ads that were shown by Oxford in the UK. So back to Cornell, the CPM, as you can see here, $5.91, and then 73% of the ads are being shown on Facebook, with the next largest chunk being on Instagram. The top campaigns here are for executive certificates, women in leadership programs, other executive and women in leadership programs, and the spend is pretty evenly distributed, as you can see from the numbers in the column at the right. And so this is some of the ad creative. Again, using images of people, typically gets higher click-through rates. Video usually gets very good engagement rates as well. And so you can see when some of these ads first appeared, the amount spent, and the number of impressions garnered. And then with this landing page, you're forced to look straight into the pop-up box before you can access any of the other parts of the page. So this would be, an extremely focused landing page where you have to enter your name and your email before you can see the rest of the page. And you can kind of see grayed out in the background there the cost of the program underneath the Enroll Now piece. But if you ever encounter something like this, or just a pop up on a newspaper website or whatnot that won't allow you to read the article, if you switch your browser to reader mode, it gets rid of the pop up, and then you can go ahead and access the page. Now we'll take a look at Harvard University and their spend and their impressions. Here you can see that they started ramping up in May and then teetered off a little bit, but kept a pretty consistent drumbeat throughout the full year. 83% of their ads are being done on social, with a big portion of them as display banner ads. 1.5 billion impressions overall, and an annual spend of $9.3 million. 64% of the ads are being done on Facebook, followed by Instagram, and then we also have some others thrown in there, including LinkedIn. If we look at the top campaigns, the Harvard Business School, is primarily the bulk of the ad spend. The medical school comes in at around $1 million. And then we have online business courses, college programs for high school students, and then online business essential courses. And here are some of the ads as well. You can see the one in the center is for the medical school. Some of the other ones are certificates, videos. You can see here more detail around the calling out to encourage people to sign up for the business school online programs. And then coming back to Harvard's landing page, again, they give you a lot of choices here to look around and kick the tires, not necessarily a funneled, focused landing page. And then we have Arizona State University. Arizona State is unique in that you can see here that they're doing a big push into video, taking advantage maybe of the number of people that are actually on YouTube and have access to YouTube. So 54% of their ad type is going towards video, with still a large portion going towards social media. 4.1 billion impressions, which is the largest we've seen, and an annual spend of 31.6 million, again, at the very top of the charts. 53% of the ads specifically on YouTube, and then looking towards Facebook and Instagram for some of the others, with LinkedIn taking up a smaller portion. Their top campaigns are explaining admission requirements with 1 billion views, 9.3 million of the ad spend. And then looking towards the online degrees and language degree programs, as well as a law, criminal justice, and public policy program. And here are some of the creatives. As you can see, it's very video heavy focused. You can see the length of time of each ad, 30 seconds, 18 seconds, 15 seconds, and then the number of times the ad was shown. So 70 million, 564 million. Wow, that's a lot. With the corresponding ad spend next to it. And then their landing page. Their landing page is a nice landing page because it allows you to self-select. So if you're a first year, then you would most likely click on the first box. If you're a transfer student or a graduate student, then you would click on the corresponding boxes. So this is a recap of the 5 schools that we just covered: Boston College, University of Oxford, Cornell, Harvard, and Arizona State, with the number of impressions overall that were achieved between March of last year and February of this year, so the 12-month period. The top platforms where they're doing most of their ads, so with Meta, it's Instagram and Facebook. Again, Oxford doing something with Twitter. That's highly unusual. So I think that there must be some sort of agreement they have with Twitter to maybe experiment and do some testing and learning, because they are a big brand. So maybe Twitter cut them a deal. And then Arizona State taking advantage of YouTube, which is available on just about every television sold today. And as you can see, it's the #1 platform among teens as well. So as you know, people are doing ads to raise visibility of their institution. And so this is a map that we've done for universities to show the visibility around the world based on their visibility score. As you know, we're publishers of the Global University Visibility Rankings. And we are going to be issuing the next edition of that this June. So stay tuned for that. We have over 700 universities now from around the world, and where we compare them on an apples-to-apples comparison of their overall visibility in terms of news mentions, public interest searches, people actually going out of their way to do a Google search to look for more information about that university, the number of followers on social media, and a variety of other metrics as well. And our host company recently informed us, where this site is hosted, that we are in the top 1% of all the websites that they host. We also do an analysis for institutions on a variety of metrics. Here's our six metric spider charts, where we also look at web references, online footprints, etc., to give you a glimpse of how you compare against your competitors. And our market research services we're current. We always have up-to-date information. We perform surveys throughout the year. We can do them custom for whatever it is that your needs are. It's very efficient. We offer an annual fixed fee model, so we can run surveys throughout the year without having to bill you for each one. We have an expert team of PhD researchers, and then we also have comprehensive university dashboards where we do competitor tracking, analysis, insights, etc. We have 3 tiers of subscriptions based on the number of surveys you think you might need per year, whether it is brand awareness types of surveys, understanding student preferences, creating new course programs and trying to gauge market interest, graduate programs, etc. And so you can see here we do it based on number of locations. We also break it down in terms of the amount of insights you'd like based on your competitors, ad spend, seeing their actual creatives, landing pages, as you saw a sample of here today. We can also do message testing, where we do dark ads to show what the click-through rates might be for different programs and different course titles. Feel free to get in touch with us to learn more about this. So thank you very much for joining us today. If you have any questions or want to reach out with some specific requests, my email's on the screen right there. And that's it. Thank you very much for joining. Bye-bye.